part one of Geeking Out on Email Deliverability. Hello and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. This is your home on the web for honest, no-hype insights, advice, and inspiration to help you sell more, faster, at higher margin with less stress and more fun. When I got out of the Air Force in 1997, I had a wife, a baby, another one on the way, and I had to put food on the table, which meant I had to be productive. I had to be efficient. I had to be successful at making sales, and I was. Over the next decade, I continued to succeed in various industries across the country, even across the world, which led me in 2006 to starting the Sales Whisperer. Since then, I have built a big business and a big family, and I have fed my family, provided for them based on my own skills, my hard work, my dedication, my insight. And now I give you this podcast as a free tool to help you learn what I have learned over 20 plus years. Another free tool that you can use to grow your sales is available over at thebestsalessecrets.com. Head on over there, and it's over 21 pages of advice, things including the 7 keys you need to apply to win at sales, how to look at money, and the true purpose of the sale. So again, head on over to thebestsalessecrets.com for that free tool. And now on to the show. Brendan Dubbels, the lead postmaster of Ontraport. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Wes.
So glad your voice has recovered. We had to do a little reschedule, but our listeners would not know that. But hey, you are ready to dive into the weeds. This is going to be a little bit different. I'm speaking with you and several other tech geniuses at some of the larger ESPs, right? Email service providers, because there's been a lot of debate, and really for years. I mean, as long as I've been in this world, which is going on 7 years, there's always a lot of debate and mystification about email deliverability. And this came up recently, less than 2 weeks ago, actually, on a private group that I'm in, and people were asking about another ESP, not Ontraport, but they were asking, what is deliverability? They were having issues, and so I wanted to have you on and dive into the technical part of what really is email deliverability, what impacts it, so I wanted to get into SPF stuff and spam scores and whitelisting and yada yada. So are you up for that?
Yeah, sounds great. It's actually my favorite topic, so I'm happy about it.
All right, and I'll be up there in less than 2 months for Ontrapalooza, so we can continue this in person if we need to. But it's not my favorite topic, so we may have to find like common ground somewhere else, like surf or football or whiskey or something, okay?
All right, that can be arranged.
All right, cool. So what is email deliverability, and how does Ontraport define it?
Yeah, so email delivery, in short, it's just the ability of an entity to get mail to the inbox.
Okay.
And whether that be the technical parameters of it, so the things that we handle, you had mentioned SPF records, or the infrastructure behind it, the different servers we have, the different IPs, or even the marketing aspect of it. So the verbiage you're using, list hygiene, and all of those things that users can actually take control of to make sure their messages get to where they need to go. Okay.
So you mentioned IP addresses. So, I don't want to take anything for granted. I mean, some people don't know what that is.
Okay.
Because, Ontraport as an ESP, email service provider, you own some hardware, right? You own some big beefy servers that have an internet protocol address or a range of addresses, right?
Correct.
And so, those are in Santa Barbara, or maybe they're backed up, around the world or across the U.S., but those are your machines grabbing my email and shoving it out the door, right, down some fiber optic pipe, bunch of ones and zeros. But how does the IP address or your IP address impact my ability to send, my list an email saying, hey, I'm having a sale?
Mm-hmm. Well, it actually used to play a huge, huge role in how well your emails would be delivered. And that's actually a really, really popular sort of myth, is that people will talk to different ESPs and they'll say, okay, well, what are your email delivery rates like on your IPs? And then they'll generally get some number back from a salesperson that's roughly around 99.8%, which is just a complete farce. So we have these IPs, and with us as an ESP, if our IPs aren't good, in other words, if they're not scored well by companies like senderscore.org or Cisco's Ironport, then we're just not in business. So it just kind of goes without saying that if you're with an ESP, their IPs are going to be good, and you'll have the potential to reach 100% inbox delivery.
Okay, so what were those two you mentioned? Cisco's Ironport, and what was the other?
Yeah, the other one was Return Path. They have a website called senderscore.org. So if you're shopping around for an ESP and you want to make really, really sure that they have the potential to get your email delivered, just ask them for their list of IPs. They should be more than transparent with you, and you can go to senderscore.org and just copy and paste those right in to take a look at the reputation.
Okay, and it's Sender or Senders?
Senderscore.org.
Okay. All right, cool. And so I can contact you or Marketo or HubSpot or anybody and say, what are your IP ranges, and they'll give that to me.
Correct.
Okay. I've never heard of that. Very cool. So basically what you're saying is, if they're in business, I mean, if they're putting themselves out there in the public realm and you can order from them, then chances are pretty good that their IP addresses pass the sniff test. And so people can kind of forget about that one aspect at least and focus on the other things we'll get into.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. If they don't do the very, very bare minimum, like keep their reputation up and do the complicated technical authentication you had mentioned, SPF, DKIM, DMARC, then they're really not going to be able to bring on customers and provide a level of service that would keep anyone around. So that's just the bare minimum.
Okay. So I'll link to this as well at senderscore.org. That's very cool. Okay, so let's talk more tech stuff. So SPF, I know it only because I've run across it a couple of times in the past several years. I had some tech friends tweak mine somehow, and honestly, I don't even know how to do it. I would have to do a Google search to find the instructions. So can you walk us through, explain what SPF is, and help us figure out how to do that, on the ESP that we're using?
Definitely. So SPF is short for Sender Policy Framework. And what it does is it's a way for the different receiving ESPs out there. So you think of Gmail, Yahoo, AOL. It's a way for them to take a look at who's sending the email and see if they have permission to do it. So whenever you send an email, you're using an IP, as we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
And then you also have your domain that you're sending from. So for the example, let's just say mybusiness.com. So if I'm sending an email from mybusiness.com, it's going to go over a specific IP and then go to whoever I'm sending it to. So if I'm sending it to Gmail, Gmail will get it, and they'll actually look at mydomain.com. And they'll say, hey, we got an email, and it said it was coming from you and your business. And it came through on this IP. Does this IP have permission to send on behalf of your business? And that SPF record will tell them, yes, that IP does have my permission, or no, it doesn't. And so if it checks out in your SPF record that it does, it goes through, everyone's happy, and all those people that love reading your emails will get them successfully.
Okay, so the saleswhisperer.com is using Ontraport.com to send an email to Mary Jo 12467 exclamation point star underscore 92 at gmail.com. Mm-hmm. So Gmail is going to look at Ontraport's IP and the Sales Whisperer IP?
In the case of us, the way that we send email, we actually have it set up so that the mail is technically coming from Ontramail.com.
Okay.
And so it will check the SPF record of Ontramail.com against the IP that it's using to send.
Okay.
So we do it a little bit differently. We have something that's called a send from address. Essentially, we're sending the mail on your behalf, but you're actually using our domain if you dig deep down in the headers and you get a little into the weeds, as you said.
Right.
And so they'll check Ontramail.com against the IP, and then they'll grab sort of the friendly from address, which would be saleswhisper.com, and add that on there.
Okay.
And so then we send the mail through, and they do the lookup, and everything's sort of hunky-dory. And we chose to do it that way because it's less footwork for our customers.
Okay.
If you're new to business, obviously going in and adding an SPF record and configuring DKIM and then making sure that everything is up to date can be a bit of a hassle. And we found that it's a bit of a barrier to entry because entrepreneurs, most of the time, didn't really get into business to learn how to set up their DNS and how to authenticate their email and how to make sure that all the IPs are in good standing. And so we found a way to configure our emails so that we can actually do it for our customers.
Oh, come on, man. I love that. API to the VPN, to the VPS, to the, I don't even know, to the DVD, to the TLC, right? I mean, that's like fun stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, to each their own, I guess.
Okay, so that brings up a good point. So you mentioned this send from address. I get this all the time, right? I get it. Infusionsoft does it. You do it. I mean, most companies do it. And I'll go look at my own inbox. I'll look at my spam, and it seems like everybody does it. Eye contact. So, and people will ask me. And I've never known how to explain it technically. You know, I'll honestly go take a screenshot of my own inbox, and I'll say, "Hey, here's all these from on behalf of blah blah blah." So, can you walk us through, explain that send from address, and why is it mo better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not necessarily better. It's just the easiest path for most entrepreneurs.
Okay.
You can, as you mentioned, set up your own SPF records. It is pretty technical, but for the most part, you can contact your ESPs and then get a list of all the IPs you're using. And then you'll also want to make sure that you're getting a list from your service provider like Gmail if you're actually using it to send and receive email to your inbox. And then you can configure an SPF record. So if you really want to get rid of the on behalf of, you can do that, and if you just Google SPF record creator, there's a tool out there that will allow you to input those IP addresses and then hit generate, and it'll generate a properly formatted SPF record for you, and then you can go and put that into your DNS manager of choice.
Okay, and now is that something that just can't be done by the ESP, or is like every individual that just has to be done, and it's just a manual kind of tedious thing that's just too hard for a larger ESP to scale and do that for everybody?
Yeah, so since it's going into the DNS record of the domain, for us to be able to do that, you would have to actually explicitly give us permission to go into the DNS records, in your case, of the saleswhisper.com, and make edits and make changes and update it. And not a lot of people are willing to do that, which is understandable. So then the other path would be to have each of our customers go and do it. And since we've chosen to send it sort of on behalf of, the option is there, but it's not required. So we found that it's just the best way to do it and the best way to get our customers' emails delivered every time.
So, all right, so we're getting technical again. What is a DNS record, and why is that secret? Why, do we have to protect that and not let my ESP tweak that for me?
Yeah, so a DNS record is basically where everything about your domain name lives. So when you went and purchased your domain, let's say the saleswhisper.com, there were a few things you had to set up. So, for example, if you wanted to set up email, you would have to create a specific type of DNS record called MX. Excuse me. It's a mailer exchange.
Right.
And so that record specifically tells all the hosts out there, like, okay, well, this is where you should look when you want to send me email. And then there's other types of records. So there's like A records, so sort of translating a domain name to an IP. So that way other servers know, oh, hey, I can look at this A record and I know where to get the data for this domain name. And there's many, many, many different types of DNS records, and they can really mess with your domain in thousands of different ways. And so it's a very, very sensitive thing, and many businesses are hesitant to give that information out, as they should be, simply because the damage that can be done by giving someone else DNS access is pretty heavy.
Well, I kind of understand what you're saying, but I would feel better giving you access than me logging in and tweaking around. I mean, it seems like you would do much less damage even on a bad day than I would on a very good day, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. But then you run into another issue of sometimes these people have tech teams, and the tech teams aren't necessarily up to speed with email authentication and things like that. And so you'll log in, and there's all kinds of other records in there, and some might be conflicting, and some might not be. And so we've just chosen to, like I said, do it the sort of on behalf way. And
Right.
if our customers need to have it updated,
Right.
they can generally just have their tech team take care of it.
And so that requires what? Logging into your domain registrar like GoDaddy or Namecheap and making some tweaks there?
Yeah. So you'll basically log in wherever you have your name servers pointed. So that'll be your host. Whoever you pay for hosting is where you'll want to log in and make those changes.
All right. So your name servers. I mean, we're geeking out. Let's geek out. All right. So I could have a registrar like GoDaddy.
Yep.
But I could host somewhere like HostGator.
Totally.
So
Yep.
HostGator is my host, and so they have the name server. So I would go to HostGator to change the DNS, or would I go to my registrar GoDaddy to change the DNS or the name servers?
Originally, you would go to your registrar and you would change the name servers there. And then once you update your name servers, there's a period of what's called propagation.
Yep.
And then you'll be able to go to HostGator, if that's where you pointed it, to change your DNS.
Gotcha.
So, for example, with Ontraport, sometimes people will host squeeze pages with us or other things. And to do that, if they want to use their own domain, they have to actually get a domain and point the name servers to us, so that way we can make changes to their DNS and host the pages on their domain for them.
All right. Very interesting. All right. So let's get back to email deliverability. So we're talking about SPF records. We talked about what else? So IP addresses, senderscore.org. Okay. So you pass the sniff test. I geek out and I call my next door neighbor's son's best friend from college, who's a computer guy, and he makes these changes for me, and it doesn't break, and everything's good.
Yep.
Now what do I do to get my emails delivered?
Yep. All right. And actually, I want to be clear there too before we move on. Adding those records to your domain, because of the way we send email, it wouldn't actually improve your delivery rates at all. What it would do was get rid of that sort of on behalf of or via that you see sometimes in people's inboxes. So it would get rid of that.
So that may not improve deliverability, but it might look better. I know, like when I look at emails on my phone and I see that having trouble viewing this, as the preview, I know right away it's a bulk email.
Yep.
So I'm less inclined to open it at least right away. Mm-hmm. So little things like that, while it may not impact deliverability, it probably impacts openability, right? Is that a word?
Yeah, I think so. If not, we'll make it one. I like it.
It is now.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And I'll definitely agree with you there.
All right. I like it when you agree with me. So let's keep that trend, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. All right. So we're moving next, okay? So what else can they do to improve deliverability?
So there's a few things. The basics, you've got list hygiene, you've got checking your content, and then you've got checking your engagement rates. So I'll just start off really briefly with list hygiene. So you want to make sure that you're always up to best practices and that whatever ESP you're using is removing people who want to unsubscribe, so they click the unsubscribe button. People who have bounced, so anyone who may have a bad email address, or they might have a full email address, full inbox. For example, with us, if we send an email to someone and their inbox is full, we'll retry that 4 times. And if on the 4th time it's still full, we just consider that they're never going to clear their inbox again, and so we unsubscribe them. Same thing, first time we send it to an email address, if it says it doesn't exist, well, they're gone. And the reason for that is if you're hitting full inboxes, if you're hitting non-existent inboxes, it makes you look sloppy, right? It makes it appear to the ESPs that you don't care who you're mailing to, and you're just going on the spray and pray rampage to see how much you can get as far as deliverables. And they'll judge you for that, and they'll throttle your email.
They're so judgmental. Can't we all just get along?
Yeah. And then next, you want to check your engagement. So when you're mailing, you can't just be mailing to people who opted in 6 years ago who haven't opened or clicked an email from you. That actually used to work really, really well, but email has evolved, and because of that, spam filtering has evolved. And so we find that our most successful mailers are actually unsubscribing people generally around the 3 weeks of inactivity mark, especially when they're new leads.
Wow.
Which sounds absolutely crazy, right? But it's made a huge, huge impact on their delivery rates and also their engagement rates, which can affect where you place in the inbox. So I don't know if you're familiar with Gmail's priority inbox, for example. But depending on your level of engagement with different mailers, you can actually place higher or lower regardless of what time your message was actually delivered. And so if you can get above the fold simply because everyone loves reading your stuff, you're much, much better off and much more likely to get open or a click or a conversion rather than placing below the fold because someone's not interested in your material.
So on that promotions tab, Google is moving or rank ordering those, not just showing them at the time of delivery?
Yeah, depending on your settings, all new Gmail inboxes, as I understand it, will have the priority placement, basically.
Right.
And then there's other things you can do to improve that as well. So using things like a call to action, maybe on the thank you page, to have people drag you over to the primary box, and things like that have been seen to have a pretty large impact on engagement.
Oh my gosh. So you're saying I have to write like better emails with better offers and more relevant and interesting?
Yep. You would be shocked at how many people that is actually news to.
Hey, look, I pay $19 for this email thingy. I mean, that should just all be 100%. I can't believe this. All right. So list hygiene, check engagement, and you said there was a third one, right?
List hygiene, check engagement, and then your content. Okay. So while content, of course, isn't the main driver of whether you're going to get blocked or not, it does still play a large role. And there's a reason for that, is because the ESPs have sort of gotten together as a community and seen trends. So they've seen trends in affiliate marketing, for example. So a really popular thing in affiliate marketing is using swipe copy. The issue with swipe copy is that in the beginning, when it's just high-quality mailers sending to high-quality lists, it's all good. As a group, the content of that message looks great. However, you get a couple bad apples in your affiliate ring, and then they start doing the spray and pray method. And then the delivery of all of those messages using that same content goes down because they sort of judge it as a community, if that makes sense, or judge it as an offer. Right. And so there's a lot more going on reputation and delivery-wise, outside of just your business name or just your IP. And so it's really, really important these days to watch who you're associating with and what type of content you're sending out, because it's all going to get lumped together.
So you're saying my mom was right, that just because my friends jump off a bridge doesn't mean I should?
Exactly. Your mom was a wise woman.
Oh, my gosh. I got to call her and apologize. All right. And so my Viagra, Cialis, guaranteed free income for life, make millions from Nigeria. I should maybe tone that down a bit.
Yeah, maybe. And the crazy thing is, though, is that there are still offers like that get delivered really, really well. We see it all the time. We have a lot of different types of customers selling a lot of different types of things. But the one thing that stands out between the people that make it through, regardless of niche, and the people that don't, is the originality of the content and the affiliations they make. Because weight loss, for example, it used to be a huge, huge place for spammers. But we still have plenty of customers who send out weight loss emails that get through and have customers that love their product. And so really, if you're selling an authentic product and you're looking to really help people, that's going to come through in your email, and you're not going to struggle with email delivery.
Gotcha.
Just don't take shortcuts. That's all.
Oh, man. I was looking for the silver bullet, man.
Yep. The mad scientist internet marketing theory that changed everything.
That's it. I know. Okay, look. If we whisper, nobody that shouldn't hear this will hear it. So can you give us that mad scientist tip?
I don't have any for you today.
Oh, my gosh. This interview's over. We're out of here. All right. List hygiene, check engagement, content. Is that it? What else?
To be honest, this whole email delivery thing is a lot less complicated than a lot of people make it out to be. And I might be talking myself out of a job right now, but that's all right. It's just all about who you're mailing to and what you're mailing. And so if you are at best practices for who you're mailing to, and I'm just going to give you the bullet points here because I could honestly talk about it for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. It's going to be you're mailing to people who want to hear from you. And you know they want to hear from you, one, because they requested to hear from you. Two, because once you delivered that information they wanted to hear, they engaged with it. So they opened it, they clicked it, they responded to your message, they visited your website. So they showed signs of life. And then you'll know that they want what you're writing because they keep coming back. And it's really all about that. And if you can just keep that ball rolling, you'll see a sort of a snowball of awesome engagement coming your way, and you'll start to see an increase in your read rates, definitely.
Right. What about double opt-ins? Do we need to do it? Should we do it? Is it overrated?
And again, this is not common for someone in my position to say, but I'm a big fan of single opt-in. But that comes with a caveat. So I'm a huge fan of single opt-in, but I'm also a huge fan of just trimming the fat from your list. And so get as many opt-ins as you can via that single opt-in, and then 3 weeks in, a month in, whatever feels right for your product. Obviously, it's going to vary a little bit depending on your offer and your pricing and all that. But 3 weeks in, a month in, 6 weeks in, get rid of those people who haven't bothered to open your email or click your email.
Okay. How accurate is open rates versus click rates? I mean, I understand a click you really can't fake, right? So that's basically 100%. But yep. I know some different ESPs, they'll try to tell you open rates, but that's admittedly not 100%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so by default now, Gmail is actually displaying images when someone opens. So open rates have become a lot more accurate. They're still not 100% accurate, and that's just because of the way email opens are calculated. So whenever a company like us sends an email, we insert this tiny transparent 1x1 tracking pixel into your message. And when someone displays images, that pixel, which has a very unique URL, something like, ontraport.com/account ID/contact ID/message ID/link number, blah, 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 blah. we see that image gets downloaded, and we know, okay, well, that specific email was opened. Problem is not all ESPs display images by default, and not everyone is going to click display images.
Right.
So that means that your email opens are probably only tracked about 80% of the time, which has risen again, because like I said, Gmail now just does it by default, and I have a feeling other providers are going to follow suit.
All right. So is that a good thing, or is it just what it is?
It's a great thing. It allows people to get more accurate data, and
Right.
it allows them to make better, more informed decisions. And, that's sort of what this whole thing is about, right? We as marketers look to make informed decisions based on data. And so the more information that we can get back from the receiving end, the better we're going to be able to fine-tune our machine.
Right, but if Gmail is displaying images automatically, is Ontraport counting that as an open?
Yes, yeah. So whenever someone opens a Gmail email, it counts as an open.
Well, but no, I thought what you were saying is that Gmail, if they automatically display the images, like let's say I'm scrolling through on a preview and I don't really open it, but I hover over it and it, my browser or my email client marks it as viewed, even though it's not. I haven't really read it. How is that treated?
I don't know. I know that in Gmail, when you hover over an email, there's no preview. So maybe if you had it being parsed into Outlook, it would be a little bit different.
Okay.
But I know that the actual Gmail client itself won't count it unless you physically open the email.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when that little HTML pixel of yours gets communicated, and you can track that accurately as an open.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Gotcha. Very cool. See, you're such a good teacher. See, man, I'm already learning. I'm smarter already. I can almost wear one of those little propeller hats now.
Oh, very nice.
I'm almost
nice.
qualified. Okay, so when I come out in a couple months, I want you to issue me one.
All right, sounds good. I actually upgraded mine recently. I've got 2 propellers on now.
Whoa, Shazam. Just don't give me a quiz, all right?
Okay. And maybe after Ontrapalooza, we'll give you a few days.
All right, see how I do. See if I behave myself. Okay, very cool. Anything we're missing?
That's mostly it. I would say the other thing that would be really important is just using a content checking tool. So for us internally, we actually run through a checklist that we've developed every time before we send an email. And it's got some stuff to make sure that our marketing message is on point, but a lot of it's just easy deliverability points. And it's actually publicly available. It's just the Ontraport email checklist that we've got. And so we hand it out to customers when they ask. But use some form of system, be it a simple checklist or a program like Litmus. So Litmus app is great. Not only do they render your emails so you can see what it looks like in the different providers, they've got a little spam checking tool. And you know what? It's going to cost you an extra 5 minutes when you send an email. But I think that 5 minutes will have a pretty big impact on your ability to get into the inbox.
And who is this? Litmus?
Litmus, yeah. It's LITMUS.
.com, .org?
.com.
Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking of Litmos, the LMS, but I knew that wasn't it. Yeah. All right, very cool. And is their service free, or do they charge for this?
They charge for it. They have various different levels depending on what you need. Right. There's a free 7-day trial, and it's played a big role in sort of the evolution of our email system as well. We used it for quite a while, and it helped us get the level of quality to where we wanted it, because that rendering tool, man, it's pretty killer.
Right. I mean, I just have my Nigerian banker proofread all my stuff, and, I'm doing pretty good.
Nice.
I may offer that as a service. I'm going to put it on Elance.
There you go.
All right, I had a question for you. All right, double opt-ins, open rates, content, check engagement, list hygiene. So when everybody's out there hyping and debating and yelling at each other, is it is it just a bunch of people thumping their chests about, oh, we're better, they're better? I mean, all the major players in the ESP space, I mean, are y'all by and large, maybe it's bad to say, equal? I mean, at least as far as deliverability, and now it comes down to customer service, ease of use and things like that to make the decision. So is the whole email deliverability thing just more of a myth, as we kind of opened with, that people should worry less about, at least insofar as the ESP? Because it sounds like more of the burden really is on the individual.
Yep. Yeah. So I'll say probably 98% of the deliverability issues that this postmaster team deals with at Ontraport are related to the individual user or the account. So either they've got a bunch of people that are complaining too much, or they're using swipe copy, or they're doing other content mishaps, like they're using raw URLs in their emails or something like that. And very, very seldom is it ever an actual infrastructure problem. And to address the other portion of that question, again, I may be working myself out of a job, but that's okay.
Hey, look,
yes,
Landon Ray will never hear this podcast, okay? I'm going to put this force field around it, so anytime Landon goes looking for it, it'll say, these droids are not the droids you're looking for, okay? It'll say, this podcast is not the podcast you're looking for, all right?
That's what I like to hear, Wes.
All right. I got you back, man.
So, yes, I think, unfortunately, a lot of ESPs out there will use email delivery as a sales tool. And as I said before, just as a service, if you don't have the possibility for your customers to get 100% inbox rating, like there's just no way you're in business. And so what it comes down to, like you said, is it comes down to a support thing. And when those 98% of the tickets that come to my postmaster team here come in, and we see, oh, well, this isn't an infrastructure problem. This isn't an IP problem. This is a you practices problem. We don't say, hey, you can go and figure that out.
Right.
We dig in, and we actually consult one-to-one with our customers very frequently. And we've got a plethora of materials that we can hand out so that they can help themselves. And so it does really come down to the level of support and the level of care. And I think we're fortunate because Landon has fostered such a transparent environment around here that we've really become our customers' partners in success rather than just their technology provider that they schlep some money to every month.
Right. You need to be like the email Nazi instead of the soup Nazi. Just say, no email for you today.
No email for you.
Just kick them out. Say, no, you are a fool. You have 24-hour break. No. Oh, you're going to complain? 1 week, no email for you. That's what you should do.
Yeah, I'll get my copywriters on that. We'll see how we can squeeze an email like that through.
All right. Very nice. Well, Mr. Brendan Dubbels, thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. Do you want us to send people somewhere? You want them to follow you on Twitter or just go to Ontraport? Where should we send people for more info on this or from you?
I would just say that if people are looking for more information or they really want some guidance in their marketing, check out our blog.
Okay.
It's really, really great. We publish articles all the time, and you'll get little tidbits all along the way. So blog.ontraport.com, and we've got plenty of free resources there that can take advantage of.
Okay, sounds good. We will link to this in the show notes. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. Look forward to meeting you in a few weeks, about 6 or 7 weeks, huh?
Yep. Ontrapalooza is going to be a blast.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but hey, that's the fact, Jack. Email deliverability is largely in your hands. Sure, there are some that maybe have a little bit better rates here or there, but, it's kind of like playing golf with an expert. Tiger Woods can take a used set from the Goodwill and probably whoop your butt and mine. So it's not so much the tool as the player. So make sure you're writing good stuff. Make sure you're setting proper expectations. We got a little bit technical in this, so go back and re-listen as well. This is episode 140, so you can get the notes, session 140. But be sure to learn and master copywriting. Understand human persuasion. Always talk about in sales that empathy is what great salespeople have, and that means you can walk a mile in their shoes. You can see things from the perspective of the prospect. And as the great David Ogilvy would always say, the consumer is not a moron; she is your wife. So look at them in that manner, treat them properly, and watch your email deliverability and your opt-ins and your sales go up. That'll do it for today's show, but the learning and the doing now follows. If you would like my help to implement what needs to get done, help you identify what needs to get done and the best path and the best vehicles to use to accelerate down that path, please head on over to thesaleswhisperer.com/IPA. There you will see an overview of what I call my initial process assessment. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap. But like they say, I'd rather spend more than I wanted to than less than I should to grow my business. So if you need some help, if you'd like me one-on-one to help, again, please head on over to thesaleswhisperer.com/IPA. And as always, remember to sell different.